You stopped performing a long time ago, not because you gave up, because you saw through it. You watched what people rewarded. You watched what they ignored, and quietly, without making a scene about it, you stopped playing the game. You do not post your wins online, not because you are ashamed of them, because they are yours. The people who matter already know. Everyone else does not need to. You show up, you do the work, you leave. That is the whole thing. No announcement, no recap, no performance review for the crowd. You have been in rooms where everyone was performing for each other, nodding too hard, laughing too loud, selling a version of themselves they probably do not even believe in anymore. You stop doing that. You are not sure exactly when. But at some point, the energy it cost started feeling like a bad trade. You do not explain yourself much anymore. Someone misreads you. They have a wrong opinion. They assume something, and you let it sit there. Not because you do not notice. You notice. You just decided the correction is not worth the conversation it would open. Most people who misunderstand you are not going to understand you better after you explain. They are going to argue. They are going to defend their first impression. And you have learned that is almost never worth your time. So you stay quiet. You carry what you know. You move on. You have stopped chasing approval from people who were never going to give it. You know the type. The person who always finds the problem. The one who reframes your success as luck. The one who calls you arrogant when you're confident or cold when you're focused. You tried for a long time to reach them, to be enough in their eyes. Then one day you just stopped trying, not out of anger, out of clarity. You do not need the room to like you. You have never really needed that. But somewhere in your 30s or your 40s, the performance of needing it started falling away. You got quiet in a new way, a settled way. Other people's opinions of you stopped landing with the same weight. Not because you became hard, because you became solid. You do not react the way you used to. Someone says something sideways. 10 years ago, something in you would have fired back. Now you look at them. You measure the situation. You decide if it is worth anything. Most of the time, it is not. So you let it go. Clean. That is not passivity. That is a man who has learned where to spend himself. You have fewer friendships now. You are not apologetic about that. You spent years maintaining relationships that were really just habits. People you kept seeing because you always had. People who never actually knew you. People who liked the version of you that was easier to be around. You started letting those fade, quietly, without explanation. The people still in your life are there because something real exists. Not because the calendar says you should keep showing up. You are selective, not cold. Selective. You do not need to be understood by everyone. Only by the ones who actually see you. You have let people be wrong about you. That one took the longest, because there is something in a man that wants the record to be straight. That wants credit where it is due. That wants people to know the real version of the story. But you got tired of defending yourself to people who were not listening anyway. So you stopped. You let the wrong impression stand. You kept moving. You do not perform emotions you do not feel. Someone expects enthusiasm, and you give them calm. Someone expects outrage, and you give them quiet. You are not performing the appropriate feeling just because the situation calls for it. If the feeling is not real, it does not come out. People have called you hard to read. You are fine with that. You would rather be genuine and misread than legible and false. Here's what is actually happening in a man like you. Your attention is a resource, and at some point, probably gradually, you started treating it like one. Every social interaction costs something. Every performance requires an output. And your nervous system, trained over decades, got very good at calculating whether the return was worth the cost. When men are younger, they absorb a lot of social pressure. They need the group. The group meant safety. Inclusion meant survival, on a level that goes back much further than any individual man's memory. But something changes in midlife. The calculus shifts. The need for external validation starts losing its grip. Not for everyone. for men who have done enough internal work, men who have lived through enough to know what actually matters, men who have been disappointed enough times by rooms they were trying to impress. Psychologists call this identity consolidation, the process by which a man stops building himself based on other people's perceptions and starts building based on internal coherence. You stop needing the outside verdict to confirm the inside truth. That is not indifference. That is integration. Your social filtering gets tighter over time for the same reason. You are not becoming antisocial. You are becoming accurate. You have learned, through a lot of experience, which connections actually fill something in you and which ones just drain you toward baseline. What looks like withdrawal from the outside is actually precision from the inside. You're not pulling away from people. You are pulling away from noise. There's also something else happening, something quieter. Men who stop caring what people think have usually been through something. A failure they survived, a relationship that ended, a career that did not go where they planned, a version of themselves they had to leave behind. When you go through enough of that, and you come out the other side still standing, other people's opinions start to feel like a smaller category of problem. You have faced harder things. You know you can handle hard things. Someone's disapproval stops registering at the same level it once did. That is not callousness. That is calibration. Your emotional economy has rebalanced. What used to cost you a lot now costs you very little. What used to feel urgent now feels optional. You are not numb, you are efficient. You know what matters. You put your energy there. Everything else gets a flat response or no response at all. Men like you are often misread as arrogant. You are not arrogant. Arrogance is loud. Arrogance needs the room to see it. You do not need the room to see anything. You just need to be clear on who you are. Arrogance performs confidence. You have the actual thing. You are also misread as distant, but distance implies you want to be closer and are choosing not to. That is not what this is. You're not holding yourself back from warmth. You are simply not going to extend warmth in directions where it does not belong. With the people you love, you are all the way in. You are steady. You are reliable. You show up without being asked. You do not need credit for it. That is not distance. That is discretion. Men who stop performing for approval often look, from the outside, like they have shut something down, like something went cold or hard in them. What actually happened is different. They stopped leaking energy outward and started directing it inward, toward what they are building, toward who they are becoming, toward the people who have actually earned their presence. That is not a man who stopped caring. That is a man who started caring about the right things. There is something structurally sound about where you have arrived. You did not get here by accident. You got here through a long series of moments where you chose reality over performance, where you chose clarity over comfort, where you chose silence over the easier thing of just going along. That pattern built something in you, a kind of interior stability most men never develop because they never stop performing long enough to find it. You are not free of all of it. No man is. There are still moments when something lands harder than you expected. A criticism that gets through, a rejection that stings, an opinion that matters more than you want it to. You are still human. You still feel things. But the recovery time is different now. The grip is shorter. You feel it, you locate it, and you move. That is the actual skill, not the absence of feeling, the absence of being controlled by it. You're not trying to convince anyone of anything. You're not running a campaign for yourself. You're not managing your reputation in real time. You are not adjusting your presentation based on who is watching. You know what you have done. You know what it cost. You know what you are still building. That knowledge does not need a witness. Most men spend their whole lives needing to be understood, needing the room to see them clearly, needing the record to be straight. You stopped needing that. And the strange thing is, that is when you became the clearest version of yourself. Not because other people finally got it, because you stopped waiting for them to